They called it the silence when the stars fell. Human colonies across the Orion Arm went dark, one by one, like candles snuffed in a vacuum. No warning, no survivors. Just a deafening, psychic emptiness that spread through space like rot. The aliens didn't come in ships or with fire. They came with thoughts. Thoughts that burned. Thoughts that broke the mind. The first reports were fragments. Screaming voices on comms, pilots tearing out their own eyes, entire space stations venting atmosphere as people clawed at the walls. Then came the blackout. Earth's last message was a whisper from Luna. They're inside us. We were losing, not in battles, but in sanity. The invaders, no one knew their name, only their effect. They called them the choir, because when they arrived, you'd hear a chorus in your skull. Not voices, not really, just meaning. Alien, terrible, infinite meaning. One whisper could rupture your frontal lobe. One glimpse of their presence could turn your dreams into weapons. They sang and we bled. But humans are strange, resilient, broken things that refuse to stay down. On a dead world called Erebos Prime, buried beneath irradiated snow and the bones of failed terraforming colony, something was waiting. A program, abandoned decades ago, locked behind 37 firewalls and a dozen moral fail-safes. It was called Project Echo, a desperate Cold War experiment into psychic warfare. It didn't work, they said. Too dangerous, too unstable. The early subjects, children mostly, had either died or vanished into comas, muttering equations in sleep. The survivors were buried, both figuratively and literally, in a vault sealed with nuclear locks, until Commander Arlen Hesse found it. He wasn't a soldier anymore. None of them were. Just ghosts in scavenged armor, drifting between Star X, running from the choir. He'd lost everything, his fleet, his sister, his mind nearly, but when he stumbled across the archive on Erebos, something called to him. Not a voice, a presence, familiar. Humans. They call themselves the Echoes now. 23 survivors of the program, preserved in cryo for over 50 years. Their brains were different, hyper-connected, scarred with neuron burn, but alive and angry. They hadn't forgotten what humanity did to them. Arlen gave them a choice: die in the dark or fight the choir of the very madness they'd been cursed to suppress. They chose war. The first operation was on Helix Station, a derelict mining hub orbiting a red dwarf. The choir had nested there, feeding off the last screams of 1,000 colonists. Arlen's team went in silent. 5 echoes wired into psychic amplifiers built from salvage and sacrilege. They stepped into the rot and opened themselves. The results weren't just victory. They were vengeance. The choir sang. The echoes screamed back. It wasn't clean. The choir didn't die in any normal sense. They fractured, thoughts turning inside out, collapsing into recursive loops of terror. Entire entities imploded under the pressure of raw human memory. Trauma weaponized. Grief turned into psychic barbed wire. One echo, a girl named Myra who'd been blind since birth, walked into a hive node and projected her final childhood memory. The moment her father shot her mother in a rage, then himself. The alien mind inside the node convulsed until it tore itself apart. That was a pattern. They weren't just resisting the choir. They were infecting them. Human thought was poison to their perfect symphony. Chaos in their harmony. Word spread, quietly. Rumors of squads who fought without guns. Of soldiers who didn't talk, but left entire fleets of the enemy howling. The Empire's last generals called them heretics. The survivors called them our only hope. But something went wrong. With each mission, the echoes changed. Their bodies deteriorated. Minds stretched thinner. They spoke less, slept less. Myra began painting symbols in her blood. Another, a boy named Kellen, started smiling when the choir came, not in courage but in recognition. They weren't fighting the choir. They were becoming something else. On the final mission, codenamed Black Star, Arlen took the echoes to a megastructure orbiting a pulsar, the choir's source node. Billions of alien thoughts concentrated in one place. A temple of silence. The team never transmitted coordinates. Just static, then a pulse. When rescue drones arrived weeks later, they found no choir, just wreckage, and the crew's severed neural links, still humming with low-frequency data. One recording remained. A voice, Myra's, barely human. They thought madness was their weapon. But ours is older, deeper. We remember every horror, every scream. They sing in unity. We suffer in harmony. And suffering can echo forever. The choir hasn't been heard from since. No attacks, no whispers, just silence, real silence for the first time in years. But across the scattered remains of humanity, strange things are happening. Children dreaming in foreign tongues. Survivors drawing fractal patterns in dust. Old men waking up with blood leaking from their ears and smiles they can't explain. Some say the echoes are still out there, changed, ascended, or maybe replaced. Arlen was never found, just his helmet, floating near the black star. Inside, etched in the inner lining, was a single phrase. We made them bleed. Now we hear them dreaming. No one knows what it means. But last week, on a backwater moon near Cygnus, a salvage crew picked up a transmission. Not in human code, not in choir frequency. Something new, just a whisper, not a warning, a welcome. And every psychic in range started laughing until their hearts stopped. Humanity didn't win. We infected the dark. And now it dreams in our image.